Hi, welcome back. My name is Jaime and I am the Kansan Reader. What this video is about, if you haven't guessed by the thumbnail or the title, these are my 25 books of 2025. It's really weird to say that, and that 2025 is almost right around the corner. This 25 books kind of brought a little bit to attention kind of my goal for next year. For the last 3 to 4 years, I want to say I've been setting my reading goal at 50 books because typically on average I read between 60 to 80 books a year. I used to read more books than that, but here lately I don't read that much. A lot of the times when I was reading like 200 to 300 books, they were like smut books. So there wasn't a lot of content to read in the first place, because the smut books I read were like between 90 to 150 pages. That's not a lot. Versus what I read now, which most of my stuff goes from 250 up to like 800 page books. So takes a little bit longer. But what I'm trying to say is that this next year I'm just gonna put my reading goal as 25 books, so I don't have like an even more pressure to read books. It's definitely gonna be for more enjoyment, and yeah, I'm not gonna do big crazy TBRs. I'm probably gonna make it where I have 5 books for each month, except for January. In January, I plan on reading only scripture and Christian non-fiction and kind of reset everything, because this fall and so far of this month, it's just been train wreck after train wreck after train wreck. And yeah, refresh, restart, and there's no better way to restart or revamp yourself than completely focusing on God and His Word. So let's get into my list of 25 books for 2025. I will say that I only own 3 books physically as of right now. I have a couple on my Kindle, but I do plan on purchasing some of these books. A couple others I plan on getting from my local library. Let's get into this. Number 1, I actually have, and you guys have seen it on my channel already, but that is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I only own this book. I don't even want to talk about how long this book has been on my shelf, but I need to read it. I seriously just, yeah. I do want to get more into my fantasy in like more classic fantasy or more epic fantasy. I do want to get into that, as well as high fantasy, which a lot of times your epic fantasy is high fantasy. But that is number 1. The next book I have, this one was recommended to me. I'm not sure I'm gonna read this author very much, because I have found out that she is a closed door romance author, and her newer books, I guess, are a little more on the steamier side, but they still have like no spice. They are closed door, but yeah, I'm not going to be reading closed door romances in the future unless it is a married couple. But that is for a whole other video, which will be releasing next week. But this is the Love Audit by Annah Conwell. Again, this has been recommended to me. I thought I had this on my Kindle, but it turns out I don't. I have an other book, but they have like similar covers. They have a pink cover, and they have like an office type thing on the cover. Well, like an office type thing on the cover. So with that being said, I kind of got them mixed up. Is the next book that I have physically. This one is a school classic that I just never got around reading. And to be honest, I really can't tell you what this book is about. I just know it's a popular classic, and that is Catcher in the Rye by JD Salinger. For some reason, I thought it was going to be thicker than this. Don't know why, but this I've also had on my shelf for a very, very long time, and I really don't want to talk about how long that was. Number 4 is The Ember Blade by Chris Wooding. This I might just get on Kindle Unlimited. I haven't quite decided if I do want to buy it because it is a secular fantasy, and I think I'm going to try it out on Kindle Unlimited. If I do end up liking it and it does have like content that I'm okay with, I will probably purchase it and the rest of the series. But the reason why I want to get to this book is in the description at the very bottom, it said that this book is going to get back to the classical roots of fantasy. And normally when you say classical roots of fantasy, 2 popular authors pop into my mind, and that is J.R.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. For me, those are my classical fantasy roots. You might think of different authors, but for me, it's those 2 main authors. Number 5 is Eragon by Christopher Paolini. I don't know how to say that last name, but yes, I did not read Eragon. I did see the movie when it came out in theaters. I feel like I just made myself old there, but yeah, I kind of liked the movie, but I didn't read the book, so that's kind of why I liked the movie. Now, I do know a lot of people who read the book absolutely hate the movie, so I have a feeling that after I read the book, I'm probably going to hate the movie too. Number 6 is one of my Christian nonfiction. It is the first on the list, and that is Gay Girl, Good God by Jackie Hill Perry. If you have not seen Jackie Hill Perry's testimony, I highly, highly recommend it. I love hearing it. And then I heard, she wrote a book, so that's why it's on here. It's her testimony, and I am going to try to plan to read this in January. Is a popular secular, I don't know if it's just suspense. I don't think it's a thriller, but it is a popular secular suspense. It is been described as a YA Criminal Minds. I used to love watching Criminal Minds, but after I came to Christ, that show got really dark and really fast. So I was convicted, and the show's not for me. But I'm pretty sure you guys have guessed it. It's The Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I've seen everyone raving about this. I also see a lot of people raving about the Inheritance games by her. I think that's what it's called. Or is it the Hawthorne Brothers? Or are those 2 separate series? Or maybe they're the same series, but just 2 separate books. Anyway, this is one of the few secular books I do plan on reading because I am going to start cutting down on my secular content. I'm really trying to watch what I'm reading. Again, that's going to be coming out in next week's video. So yes, this is one of the few that I do actually plan on reading. Search of a Prince by Toni Shiloh. This cover is gorgeous. I absolutely love when covers have like this big, huge ball gown, and yeah, it's just gorgeous. The other thing, this has been compared to like the Princess Diaries, and the Princess Diaries was everything when I was growing up. So yes, that is why this one is on here. Also, it's Christian. So number 9, this is another secular book. I found it when Hulu made a TV series out of it, and she's also the author is a very popular author. So that is Kindred by Octavia Butler. Another reason why this is on here besides the TV show is that I'm trying to get into some more sci-fi, and this is categorized as sci-fi. Number 10 is my next Christian nonfiction, and it is The Kingdom of Cults by Walter Ralston Martin. This may sound very weird, but ever since I was like little, I've always been interested in cults and the psychology behind them and the sociology behind them. When I was in the only year of college I went, because I was wanting to go and become a psychologist, I loved doing deep dives into cults. This is again Christian nonfiction, and it talks about cults. I will say I have also found out with the cult that you can see like a mile away is if their leader calls himself a prophet, and he's the only one that has a special connection to God. He's the only one who can talk to God. That is a blatant lie. Anyone can talk to God. The main way God talks to us is through his word. So it is one of the like top books I am super excited for next year. Number 11 is another Christian nonfiction, and I do have it physically. The Long War Against God by Dr. Henry Morris. This is about the history and impact of the creation-evolution conflict. I absolutely love deep diving into creation, and I did read like first 30 pages of this, but for some reason I stopped. Don't know why. But I can't wait to get into this and do more research on that. This one, I have read multiple of her books. I absolutely love her writing. When I was growing up, I was huge into like horror movies, and the spooky season there was some spooky stuff that I didn't like, but either way, now I'm just like a complete sissy to all of it. Except for Jaime Jo Wright, and the book I chose to read of hers next year, because I do have a lot of her books I haven't read, but this one was the one I was most excited for this year, and that is The Lost Boys of Barlowe Theater. It's another book that I plan on purchasing. I trust Jaime completely, and also her covers are absolutely gorgeous, so I want all of her books. Number 13 is The Lost Melody by Joanna Davidson Politano. I have read sorry, a notification popped up. I have read one Joanna Davidson Politano before. It was Lady Jane Disappears. I did start Finding Lady Everly, I think is what it's called. But I wasn't in the right headspace for that one. So I chose, while I do plan on trying to read Finding Lady Everly next year, I own this one on the Kindle, and so when I was trying to find books that I really, really wanted to get to next year, this was one of those. I was like, I need to get it more into Joanna's writing. Since I already own this one, it's just, yeah. Also, I will say the content of this one I'm more interested in versus Finding Lady Everly. 13 is Mammoth by Brian McBride. I follow Brian McBride on Instagram. He is an indie Christian author. This series has 3 books out right now. He's getting ready to start the launch of the 4th book, which is called Tyrant. I plan on purchasing all of his books. 1, the covers are gorgeous. And 2, I have started reading this this past year, but I'm gonna call this past year like not in the right headspace, because I've started several books with amazing writing and I just could not get into them. This is one of those books. I absolutely love his writing. To me, what I read of the story, it reminds me of the Goonies meets Indiana Jones meets the Hardy Boys. Also, I want to support more indie Christian authors next year and get their names out. So that is one of the reasons why I want to read his books. But again, amazing writing. Now, I think on his website, he just says Indiana Jones meets Hardy Boys, but I think he needs to get the Goonies in there because it was giving me Goonies vibes. Like, where's Goonies filmed? Astoria. I think it's Astoria. The town that this is set in is giving me, like, Astoria vibes. So, yeah. Number 15, another Christian indie author. This one is Neverending Mercy by Latisha Sexton. I have multiple of her books, but I haven't read them yet. I know, horrible, but I do plan on doing Neverending Mercy. She also has a hockey romance, and I can see the cover and it says something about like a single dad maybe in the title, but I just cannot remember it. Then the other one is The Heart of Christmas, which heart is H-A-R-T. Out of all of those, I really, really liked Neverending Mercy and kind of what the synopsis of that was, so that's why I went with that book. Number 16, this is my 3rd Christian indie author on here. She's another one I follow. Absolutely love her content, and she is very outspoken on why people should not read spice books. Absolutely love that, because as a person who used to read spice books and it nearly destroyed her marriage, I am very passionate about getting out there and getting that word out, which again, that is going to be in next week's video. Next week's video is going to have some controversial topics, and I will be coming at it with the Bible. So, yeah, this one is Once I Know by Victoria Lynn. She is a fantasy author. This is a non-magical world, so if you are one that doesn't like magic, but you want more fantasy, I highly, highly recommend Victoria Lynn. She just released the 3rd book for this series, which she first wrote when she was like 14, and she went back and like rewrote it, and yeah, she just released it this year. This is another Christian non-fiction. This one is called Out of the Devil's Cauldron by John Ramirez. If you have not heard of John Ramirez, he's another one whose testimony you absolutely need to go and look up. It's so beautiful how God saved this man, because he was actually a high priest in the satanic cult. This man was top ranking, and God saved him. And now he has multiple books out on not only his testimony, but getting the word out there about witchcraft and the satanic cult and the lies that the devil has out there. 18, I have read the first 2 books in the series by this author. This is the 3rd book in the series, and I just want to try and finish the series next year. I think she did like a novella. I want to say it was a novella as well, but anyway, that is Purest Joys Restored by Jennifer Q. Hunt. This is the 3rd book in Wisteria House. I absolutely love this series, and I love the family. For some reason, I can't think of the youngest brother's name, but it follows him. Number 19 is a popular secular sci-fi. I have been very curious about this sci-fi. I have not seen much on content warnings for it. So I'm definitely wary about that, but I'm gonna give it a shot. And that is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. If you have read this and there is certain content that you think I should know about, let me know down in the comments. Number 20. Okay, get your tomatoes and your cabbage and your lettuce ready to throw, okay? I have never read Jane Austen. I was expecting tomatoes and all that to come through the camera. Anyway, yeah. So I plan on going to my local library and just getting the singular Sense and Sensibility, her first, I think that's her first novel. That was a puppy. And starting with that. Number 21. It's another fantasy book, but this one, Silmarillion by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the next book I plan on tackling of his. From what I hear, it's one of like the harder books to get into. With that being said, though, I can't wait. Number 22. This is a very popular Christian, I think it's a fantasy, or maybe it's a thriller. I don't know. I need to look that up. But my librarian has recommended this book and this author to me. I don't even want to know how many times. But that is This Present Darkness by Frank Peretti. I have a ton of Frank Peretti on my TBR. I just keep dragging my feet to get to him. Number 23 was actually a book I planned on reading earlier this year, like in January, but I ended up not getting to it. And it is by an author that I have read before. I ended up reading one of her other books this year, and it is one of my 5-star books. It will be in a totally other video. But this one is Veiled in Smoke by Jocelyn Green. again, like I said, her one book was a 5-star, so I want to get into her other books. 24 is a other indie Christian author that I fell in love with her writing. I plan on purchasing her book, and the second book. There is a second book in this series. Reason why I did not finish it again, I was not in the right headspace, unfortunately. She is one that I found descriptions to be so beautifully done, and it's very rare in what she did for me. I'm not going to say this is probably going to be for everyone, but for me, first of all, the title is Where Darkness Dwells by Andrea Renee. This is a fantasy world, and the world is ruled by darkness, and the way she describes the darkness and how it comes in, and the townspeople going around to like do the demands of the darkness, and you can just feel it weighing on you. That's how like descriptive it was, at least for me. Other people will, reading is subjective, so other people might not get that. But for me, I could feel that darkness like coming off the page, and I was like, oh my goodness, I need to be in a better headspace to read this book, because I felt like I was going to be doing a disservice to the author if I read this book at the wrong time, and I didn't want to give her an unauthentic rating. So with that being said, I'm going to buy her book. And yeah, I will make sure I am in the most joyous headspace, and then I'm getting to that thing. Final book, number 25, is a book that I've seen a lot of people love this year. And I'm so sorry about the puppies in the background. They're getting where they're being very talkative. But number 25 is Wormwood Abbey by Christina Bear. I don't know how to say her last name, but I've seen so many people enjoy this, and I've seen people say this to be like genre bending. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a go, and I also own it on my Kindle. So that being said, this is my list for 2025. Again, for my goal next year, I only plan on reading 25 books. Whether it's all these books, some of these books, we will see guys in the next video. I hope you like my list. I can't wait to see your guys' list, if you even have a list or not. Have you heard of any of these books? Have you read any of these books? And let me know what you thought if you have read them. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!